Welcome back to DTV's Fine, I'll Watch. We are three DePaul students who studied film in one way or another. And this week, we watched AMC's Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire. Not the movie. We didn't read the book. We watched the pilot of the TV series. It premiered on AMC in the fall of 2022. It is based on a book series, The Vampire Chronicles, which was written by Anne Rice. And the first book, Interview with a Vampire, was published in 1976. Both season 1 and season 2 of Interview with a Vampire hold a 98% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Season 2 specifically rates higher than pretty much every other highly anticipated show that premiered this summer. So House of the Dragon season 2, The Bear season 3, and The Boys season 4. Rates higher than all of those, which is crazy. The show has also recently made its Netflix debut along with a handful of other AMC series stuff, and was renewed for a third season this summer. So fun, campy, gay, ooky spooky vampires. So yeah. Okay, so my first question officially, what was everyone's experience watching the pilot?
I watched it probably about a month after all of the episodes came out in 2022. I had seen a clip on Twitter that actually convinced me to watch it. Someone had posted with no caption, no quote, no nothing, the 7-minute long scene in the chapel. And I was like, well, this is intriguing. I'm gonna watch I was just bored and watched all 7 minutes of it. And so the first scene I ever saw, I'd never seen the movie, I'd never heard of the books. The first anything that I saw with Interview with a Vampire was the 7-minute long chapel scene at the end of this pilot. I watched it and I was like, what? And then they kissed and I was like, it's gay. And then I was like, and so yeah, then I started watching it. I watched all of season 1 in probably like 3 days. This was when I had a really good string of shows. I had seen Our Flag Means Death, Flight of the Conchords, Pen 15, the other two, and this show all in a row for the first time. And so it was a very formative year. And then I showed it to Isabelle earlier this year because I wanted to watch season 2 with her. So, and she really liked it. And this was a big swing and a hit.
Wow. Yeah, so Hailee showed it to me. I had heard of the movie. So I knew of it. It was on my list. And it was on my list in high school of movies to watch. And I still haven't watched it.
I still haven't seen the movie.
I still haven't seen it. But then when we started the show, then I didn't watch the movie because the movie covers season 1 and season 2 of the show, and I didn't want it to spoil season 2. This was before season 2 had wrapped up. And now I have no excuse. Now I'm lazy. So I watched the pilot, and it did take me, I think 2 or 3 episodes. And then I was sitting there just entranced, mouth open, drooling. Yeah. I was like, this is amazing. But I would also like to preface, I have never seen vampire media that I haven't enjoyed. Twilight, True Blood, The Vampire Diaries, Interview with the Vampire. I love all of it. I think it's phenomenal. It's so fun. I love sort of the theming behind it. I think it's so sexy and cool. All right, Olivia, my separate question for you is there a specific reason that you have not seen it before?
No.
Okay. The answer can be no.
My first and only introduction, I've never even heard of Interview. I don't know anything about this.
You didn't know about
all.
the movie?
Yeah, I had no introduction to it, no anything about it. I also don't like vampire content.
Yeah.
But I feel like vampires probably fall frequently into the horror genre, and I don't like horror. So I kind of just stay away from it. I don't know if that's logical through and through, but that's just what my brain has always been telling me. So I didn't know anything about this at all. And then Hailee and Isabelle were watching. I was stubborn to watch it and get into the fantasy because I thought from the bits and pieces that I saw, it was just too campy. I didn't really vibe with it. I didn't feel like it made sense. Also, I think this was at the time where I'm watching Game of Thrones, so I was probably mentally preoccupied. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to start something else.
So what was your experience watching the pilot then?
A lot of shock value. Done well, I will say.
Yeah.
This is
I mean, it's
interesting.
not like shock value, but it is just like, oh, okay.
This pilot has a lot of fucking stuff happen.
There's
It
a
does.
lot.
Right. That's what I'm
This-
saying. Everything that
yeah.
was happening. Oh, okay. That's crazy. That's crazy. I didn't know it was set at this episode in particular, New Orleans 1910s. Crazy backdrop. And then also 2022 COVID. So I was like, okay, a lot of themes, a lot of relationships established off the bat. So shock value, just to kind of say that there's a lot of stuff going on. So it was a fun watch for sure.
We've touched on a little bit like expectations going in and your experience watching it. How did you feel at the end of the episode?
Gagged.
I
will say, like, the Dubai stuff isn't supposed to be interesting until like season 2. It's like thematically supposed to be boring. And so I was having a hard time. I felt that the present timeline and the past timeline were very dissonant to me. And so, especially on my first watch, I had a hard time equating the two, especially since they're in the same show. I will tuck my tail. Okay. I will admit when I'm wrong, and they gagged me. They play the long game on this show. So I was gagged the house boots after watching the first episode, but then I was gagged the house boots from the New Orleans stuff. Like I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I wasn't gagged the house boots till like with the Dubai stuff until like
the season 2
years
finale.
later. So, but like you got to play the long game.
I find it hard when there's a present and past timeline because you always favor the one or the other. And so the payoff really has to be worth it. If you're telling me it's going to be worth it, that's awesome. Obviously, I'm not going to get that from the pilot, right?
Right.
But it's especially hard when if he's being interviewed, obviously crazy stuff in his life has occurred to warrant the interview. Plus, I'm assuming there's a connection with the interviewer and Louis that will like eventually gag me as well. Probably a midpoint or a finale somewhere. You know what I mean? Like that's going to get me, I'm sure. But you're right. It's totally risk to play the long game because when you're like me and have no attention span and even kind of like a forced interest in this, where it's like I wouldn't choose to watch a show on my own. You're kind of taking a gamble if you're going to like grab my attention enough for me to like give you the time of day.
So let's talk a bit about character introductions, chemistry, world building, and overall pacing. What are our thoughts?
Honestly, like I'm gonna give them a check for all 4.
Like a plus mark?
Yeah, like they
check
the box.
In red.
No, like they check the box.
Okay.
They check the box. Character introduction is strong. Instantly I know who's who, which is wonderful.
Hard. Yeah. That's
hard because there's but instantly I'm like, they repeat Louis' name 8 million times. So if you don't know his name by the end of the episode, you have memory issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chemistry. I mean, hot gay sex in the first episode. So of course there was chemistry there. And very natural, not manufactured. I think acting wise, like it's there, it's clear. There's a lot of like repressed homosexuality that you're like confronting within the first episode. Heavy topic. Nailed it. I think it's great. Beautiful representation. Fantastic. World building. I mean, yeah, I feel like I'm, in Louisiana back in those days. I feel like I'm being led into a very personal part of everyone's lives. In one room, you're in a whorehouse. In the next room, you're like home for dinner with the family. The conversation of race, you're like very quickly watching everything for what it is at face value. Very clear. It's just very well done. It's well structured.
Blatant. Yeah.
Pacing, I would definitely think is on track as well because they have a hook, they have a midpoint, and they have something that totally will get you to watch the next episode. Like they do all of the things that good structured television should do. But that being said, they check off all of the boxes for me from like an analytical, I have a film degree background, so I know that they're doing this well. As a viewer, I just don't like long form television and I don't like vampire drama. So I probably wouldn't watch the whole show, even though it's very well done. Like I can acknowledge that. So maybe if I found myself at the time, I would lean towards it. But like big blockade, I don't have a Netflix subscription or an AMC Plus subscription because who the hell has an AMC Plus subscription? Okay.
It's rough out here.
So like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm like, yeah, that was super fun. I'm not going to watch the rest of the show. I don't know. But like also, I watched this
Conflicted.
an hour ago. Okay, I
She has
need to
to
like
sleep.
digest. I need
Yeah.
to sleep on it. If I'm thinking about it tomorrow when I wake up, that'll probably get me to watch it. But right now, I'm like, fun. Let me go watch my favorite shows or movies or something.
Right.
Something that like speaks to me more genre wise.
Okay, so future Olivia here about a month and a half later. Just to say that I haven't watched the rest of the show. I didn't wake up the next morning thinking about it. But I do think that there's a part of me now as we enter like the colder months and TV season is fully upon us that will go back out of curiosity because I do frequently see it on my timeline, on social media. Hailee and Isabelle still be yapping about it. So there is a part of me that feeds into the FOMO and might continue to watch it. But just want to say that still think it's a great show, still think highly of it, just still have not gotten around to watching it for all of the reasons that I listed. Like, none of my opinions have changed.
Hailee, how did you feel about initial character introductions, chemistry, acting, all that good stuff?
I do remember initially watching it for the first time. As soon as Lestat was like, he meets Louis on the balcony with Miss Lily, and he's like, "Of course your name is Louis. Like, I thought that I was moving to a town, but I was actually moving to a man with the most agreeable disposition." As soon as he said that, I was like, I was locked in.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That to
I
me
was
is so
like,
jarring.
that's a character. Because you know who he kind of reminded me of? Is like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, Villanelle is kind of like
He's
alive
very
in the year
Villanelle.
2022.
Yeah.
I also think that Lestat is such like an iconic figure in like gay media for the past like 50 years. Like I can think of so many gay characters that are just Lestat in different fonts. Like, so I think that he, not to say that he was the only thing that hooked me in, but I think that Lestat has like the most iconic or most immediately iconic like intro for me. I think that the pilot does a lot in an hour, but I don't think that there could be any other way. I don't think there's any other way they should have structured it. I can't see it any other way. A lot goes on, but also it sets up a lot for the, remaining season. And then, of course, with episode like 3 or 4, you get the wrench in the plot that is Miss Claudia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that this is like probably one of the best pilots to come out in the past 5 years. Yeah, I think it does a really great job establishing things. It's a great adaptation. The choices that they made in the adaptation feel really smart and they add a new layer. Like I also did not know that Louis was white in the original books until I like got really into the show, and I was like, I think that maybe tells you how good they do, like, and how smart of a choice that is. It like adds a whole other layer to the different themes and stuff that you're dealing with in the show. I love this pilot. I was so excited to watch it again.
It's very well done.
It's very well done. I think when I watched it the first time, I did feel pacing wise that it felt a little, I just felt like there was so much going on. And I was like, this just feels like way too much. But then you watch the rest of season 1 and it's like, oh, like there's no, like Louis had to be turned in that first episode. And so you had to have enough exposition between him and Lestat in order for Louis to be turned. Because there's just
when
no
we
way
watched it, I kind of joked that there was like a makeover sequence. There was like a makeover montage in
and it's also
the pilot,
just like
which is
we
crazy.
hung out.
For
We
Lestat, where he's like, we
yeah.
had to make him dress
Right.
like this century. Yeah.
Well, it's
Which,
also
like,
just
it's crazy. That feels like that's like such a cliche movie thing.
Yeah.
So to put that in a pilot, I was like, okay, here we go. We were
Well, it's
speeding
also
along,
just like
which is just
time
how
is
I
so
like it.
strange. Yeah, time is so strange in this show and it goes by so quickly that it's like, oh, okay, there is enough relationship there where Lestat can say I love you at the end of the first episode and mean it. And that's like a feat. That's a hard task to develop a relationship to that point in an hour. When you don't really get to see a lot of it, but you can see sort of that connection. And I think that is a testament to the chemistry between Sam Reed and Jacob Anderson, because they are you can just tell that they're really kind of connected. But yeah, I think I was like, holy shit, this is really, really way too much is happening, and then you watch the rest of it and you're like, oh, okay, that's just kind of like a normal. But it's also 15-20 minutes longer than every other episode. I mean, every other episode's a 45 minute episode. This
Lot
is
to
an
do.
hour and 5 minutes.
The time is just going to be something that you're going to have to accept. And I think
And
that
it's
this
also like historical context of it. They start talking about
Yeah.
the wars of it. So you're like, oh, okay, I can position where we are based on, we're talking about World War One.
That's definitely helpful.
yeah.
I think that's really smart, because my problem with vampire media sometimes is like, how can you have a mortal person write about what it is like to be immortal? That's like a really abstract concept.
Mhm.
And so if you start way back when, instead of starting in 2020 and going to the future, you don't have to like do any world building. The world already existed. So I think it's very genius to start in an age where you can just like take 100 years of already written history and then place them in it.
Mhm.
So it was,
But it's also like
pacing
not
wise,
the
really
forefront.
helpful.
Yeah. and I
Exactly.
like
It's just
that
a
it's like,
tool.
this is not really affecting what's going on because this is
Mhm.
not affecting them, really. But
Right.
it
Yeah.
is affecting sort of everything around them.
I think that
Right.
this pilot is like the reason that they put so much in there is probably to be like, get used to this, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
if I were writing a show where there can be episodes where 20 minutes ago it was 15 years ago, and there's only 2 scenes in between, and the only way you can really tell is because a couple of the human actors have a little gray in them, then I would write the craziest fucking first episode that I possibly could,
Yeah.
so that I could be like, how you couldn't tell, because how long is this time supposed to be here in the first episode? Who's to say?
I don't
It could be
know, yeah.
6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 weeks. But I think, the way that it plays with time is very interesting to me,
Mhm.
especially how they succeed in it.
Yeah.
Another impressive tool, because I'm thinking about character relationships again, because my issue right now is Lestat. I don't know why. I can't articulate that just yet. Love Louis. Love. Lestat to me
That's
is
a
just like,
controversial
That's a really
opinion.
weird opinion.
No,
That's a
but, like,
crazy take.
it honestly might be like,
I kind of hate Louis a bit.
okay, you guys remember Tuck
Louis?
Everlasting? Did you guys
Yeah.
read Tuck Everlasting?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't read it.
The
I watched
whole-
the movie like a normal person.
Okay, well, we had to read it for class.
Mm.
It was like our freshman year read. So I remember Tuck Everlasting so quickly. And so the Fountain of Youth to me is very, I don't know, it's just prominent in my brain. Similar to that of vampires, like the ideal of mortality. I just remember thinking that entire time reading Tuck Everlasting, I'm like, same with Twilight. How selfish are you to be so lonely in your vampire ways, to steal a person that is like down on their luck and also make them immortal because of your own need for like companionship? It is such a controversial topic, okay?
Haley's gonna literally fight you. Haley,
No.
speak.
That's fine, but also I've only seen one episode.
Well,
That's crazy.
I
I'm
do-
like recovering from that.
If
think-
I was a vampire and I feel lonely or whatever, like, I think the joy of life is maybe being able to start over so frequently and like
But
maybe
I
sharing a
think-
secret, but to be like, you need to be a vampire with me and that's the only way our love can be affirmed. Like, that feels so
He
selfish.
asked him though.
Okay,
He
two
asked
things.
He
him.
asked him
Two
like
things.
literally
Pause.
in like the lowest point of his life. Like, that is like
Pause.
manipulation.
Pause.
Oh, that's so sad that that's how you saw it.
That is
So-
First,
makes me
number one.
sad.
Number one. Louis and when Louis and Lestat met, Louis was not so much depressed. Like when they first
No, I
started their
know.
relationship, this was not like he picked out this man because he was like lonely. He liked
Well,
him.
he picked him out because he tried to hit his brother with a belt or some
Right.
shit. He was
He
like,
was
that was
like-
cool.
He was like, this guy's cool.
Yeah.
Like
No,
he
I
it
know.
was
I'm
not
not saying-
intentional in that way.
I'm not saying that their love wasn't pure or wasn't real or whatever, but it is kind of like it's like a power imbalance is unfair for Lestat to be like, I have lived so much life. I know what your experience right now is repressed homosexual feelings for me. And Louis, who doesn't know this about himself, it's like he needs to come to that on his own, I feel like. I feel like it's not fair a little
Here's
bit.
my other
But
thing.
what I will say on the plus side of their relationship building, because it is impressive what they can do with a makeover montage to be like, they're great friends. they went to dinner. They are very, very close. They're way too close for man and man in this day and age and like this timeline.
Uh-huh.
The ability for Lestat to be able to speak with him in his mind, like to just like use his powers to like make them closer, so good. So
You know,
good.
it's so funny.
Love that.
I point this out to like everyone, like me and Isabel were watching this. I think it's so funny that Louis never thought he was a vampire. He just thought gay people were weird. Like he
Right,
like
yes,
I kind of said that.
100%.
Yeah.
he bites him during like he literally bites him and sucks his blood during sex.
Mhm.
And Louis was like, gay people are like
Well, it's funny because the way he then talks about it, to the interviewer, he's like talking and he was like, it's like this really sensational feeling. But I'm thinking back about like how Louis probably felt in that moment where he was like, orgasms are like really good.
yeah.
Well, yes, like it's like this thing that he's discovering for the first time ever. But I just have so much sympathy for him because of who he is and the context of like the historical context of how he has to live. So for Lestat to come in and be like, I am wise in French. Let me show you a thing because I've seen a fewer things. It's like, I know it's going to work out in the end, but for a pilot and as a character, I'm like, my guard is up when it comes to him.
think
That's
for
all.
me, I think this is interesting because I think in a lot of ways, where we see Louis in 2022, that's where his headspace is. I think that is what he thinks now. But I think from
unreliable narrator, I'm
Lestat's
aware of that too.
From Lestat's
Yeah.
perspective, I think Lestat was always like, you're either going to kill yourself or you can be a vampire with me. And I think that, you know, you are, you know, I love you. You're, you know, I've seen the potential that you have as a human being.
100%.
It is like, it is the
I
dark
just
gift
view
to
that
Lestat. It is a gift.
I view that conversation as something.
I didn't know it was a gift.
Guys, this isn't fair.
I
have seen literally one episode.
I've been wearing it like a curse.
Stop, Hailee.
I just view the decision as something that in my head I'm like, that needs to be debated. That needs to be pros and cons list needs to be made. Like it needs to be just talked about. Like Lestat needs to like list out and be like, these are all of the plus sides. And it will help you in the end because I am wise enough I'm wise beyond my years to be able to show that to you and then eventually prove it to you. But coming after the church scene, it's like this man just like went through so much and to be like, I'm gonna make you a vampire now and everything will be fixed. It feels like a miracle move on drug that isn't real.
Yeah. This is so interesting because I don't think I ever saw it as that even when I knew nothing about Interview with the Vampire. I think this is an interesting way to like interpret that scene because like Isabelle said, it's like obviously this is 2022 Louis' perspective on what happened, but I think that Lestat came into the church because he assumed Louis was going to kill himself. So I always thought that I always viewed it as like a don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. You're so sexy. Like
you're so sexy. Okay. My next question.
Oh, she's got more.
Oh, yes, I have more. What is your favorite episode or scene from Interview with a Vampire?
I just recently rewatched. We're talking so much. It's so funny because we're talking about Lestat. Bitch, I love that episode.
I love that scene.
It's like I think the episode from season 2. There's an episode in season 2, Olivia, where the 1973 interview with Daniel, it's like all about what happened in 1973. It's very interesting. The whole episode just kind of like when we were watching season 2, I kept being like, the ball's gonna drop, the ball's gonna drop, the ball's gonna drop. And Isabelle was like, I don't know, like I think I'm not sure when it would drop. And I was like, no, like this week the ball's gonna drop. You had a
crazy Lestat theory though that I was like, I don't know.
I was like, no, the ball's gonna drop. Like just wait, like the ball's gonna drop. And it really drops like a metric fuck ton of like bricks. This episode is like crazy.
I love the Angel of Death scene with Daniel and Armand.
Yeah,
I'm like
a cult classic.
I love Claudia. I love the Claudia's introduction episode, Claudia's diaries episode with her pink little coffin. She's so fun.
It's so soft.
Like, but I'm hungry.
I think I'm gonna die.
That's when you said you got into it, was when Claudia appears.
Claudia was really the moment that I was
Mhm.
like, oh, okay.
She's like a
She's
whole
just so
friendship
cool and just
story.
fun.
Yeah, I
and
wonder
like,
if that's what I'm looking for.
yeah,
It's
she's,
a
you know,
fun
but
moment.
I think it's
Because
also
honestly, right now it's heavy. It's
it's heavy. Yeah. I think it's
Claudia.
heavy for a couple episodes because I mean, Louis really struggles, but Claudia is very like a fun little like gift.
Mhm.
Olivia, then, is there a specific scene from the pilot that you were like, this is really good?
I like the poker game a lot. That was really fun to me. Something about like a soulmate really gets me. I think that's like fun. And it also adds a lot of conflict off the bat because like you're gonna do anything for your soulmate. And so the whole like being able to talk to him without or like freezing time just to speak with him.
A lot of the monologues are directly from the source material, which is really interesting.
Love. Okay.
Personally very much enjoy, as I've alluded to, the church scene. I like Louise' monologue. I like Lestat's monologue. I think that I also like the poker scene as well, but I think the one that sticks in my memory for me is like the church scene from the
The
pilot.
altar. Yeah.
You know what was off-putting?
Mm.
The colored contacts into both of them.
Yeah. Okay, my last question and my funnest question.
Oh.
If someone offered you the dark gift, would you take it? If it was Lestat, 100%. If it was Sam Reed right here, right now, 100% laying my life down. If my mommy can have it also, for him, yeah. If my mommy can have it also, cool.
I knew you were going to say that. I
Yeah.
was like, how are you about to be like, yes, but meanwhile, that means you have to watch everyone that you love die.
See, if my mom
That's
is
my
here,
reason
I'm
to say
cool.
no. The like loneliness factor that clearly Lestat has at the moment of the pilot. Like you have to really manipulate a lot of your life in order for it to even slightly look the way you want it to. Then at that same token is like why I probably would say yes, is because then if I'm able to freeze time and win at poker, like I become rich very quickly. I could experience
you'd be
all of the
rich, yeah.
things in life I would want to experience. That's
And
appealing
you never
for
run out of
sure.
things because things are constantly evolving and changing.
Absolutely. That's very appealing. At the
Very
end of the
fun.
day, for me,
And then you can
people
just die
are more
when you
important
want
than
to.
everything. If I became a vampire, all my girlies
I'm
would
an
have to.
introvert.
The both of you would have to be vampires with me. You actually have no choice.
If you became a vampire and didn't make me a vampire, oh girl.
I would fucking kill
I'm
you.
haunting you.
That is crazy.
All right. That was the episode.
I can't believe you would say that.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We are so excited to announce that we have our Instagram up and running. It is in good hands with the current DTV board. If you look up on Instagram, DePaul TV Productions, that's where you'll be able to stay up to date on all of the fun projects DTV has in store. We highly suggest checking out our Instagram. That will be able to redirect you to our YouTube channel, to our podcast specifically, and everything in between. We have a lot of cool stuff going on. So give us a follow, and thank you for listening.